All right, what is going on? How y'all doing out there in Uncle Steve's Lounge? Thank y'all for joining me on a Sunday. It is 1 week away from the big Super Bowl, and I have the pleasure of talking to two super fans from both participants. I thank you two guys for joining me. I'm going to start to my right from Philadelphia, up there right now, my cousin, Jason Jones. It's a Philly thing. That's what he says. It's a Philly thing. Is he down here in Georgia? We say it's a Philly thing. Well, what's going on, my brother?
I'm doing amazing. Hello to everybody in Steve's Lounge. Good to meet you. Good to see you. God bless you all.
We appreciate you joining us. And down below is Missouri's finest. My brother Ronald Banks here representing Kansas City in his finest. Ron, how you doing, man?
Good. How about those Chiefs?
Man, I am so glad again that you guys came in here again. Unfortunately, my Falcons don't know how this type of thing goes anytime soon. With Philly winning the whole thing back in 18 and the Chiefs doing it in 20, right? In 2000,
that is correct.
In 2020. This is familiar ground for you guys. Jason, starting with you, what's the feel up there in Philly right now about the team? I know you guys had a close one last year in baseball. You almost got the Phillies over the hump, and now to get the Eagles in the Super Bowl again. What's the vibe up in Philly?
The vibe in Philly right now is really good sports wise. Like the city of Philadelphia right now is an amazingly violent city. So with something like sports taking our mind off of what's the daily life is amazing. The Sixers are playing good ball. The
That's
Eagles
right.
ball, and the Phillies just came from not even supposed to be a contender in the World Series and, giving a nice run. So right now, sports-wise, in the city of Philadelphia, amazing. You're seeing Eagles jerseys and flags and hats everywhere. You even got people that's trying to cross over. Oh, I was a Dallas Cowboy fan. I said, well, stay over there in Dallas. We don't need no more.
I know. I want to also thank Ron Banks for coming in for us. My cousin Jamal Fields was supposed to be able to sit in, but as with life, things happen. So coming in here to give us a quick sub, but trust me, he knows about his Chiefs. I know you're here down here with us in Georgia, but tell us what the feeling is back home and what the folks are talking about for another opportunity for Kansas City to win a Super Bowl.
Well, my ear to the grind was simply this: Kansas City, has been in the playoffs for the past 7 years, but they're starting to call Arrowhead the Kansas City Invitational.
Wow!
Because every year the team goes to Kansas City, so the mindset of folks is everything goes through Kansas City now. So people are feeling pretty good about that.
Okay, all right. I said that last year too. Now, yeah. Cincinnati
that's true.
About that last year. Now.
Yeah, but I tell you what, those Cincinnati guys, you didn't hear anything from Kansas City's camp. But them Cincinnati guys, because they had beat them last year,
they were
doing a lot of talking there.
They were chirping, bro. They were chirping. They were chirping. I want to give you guys both a quick chance to talk about your season leading up to the playoffs real quick. I'm going to start with you, Ron, about the Chiefs 2022 journey. Just in about a minute or so, just was it something you expected? Obviously, with Patrick Mahomes, you always have an opportunity. But the road to this point, is it kind of what you expected, or were you kind of nervous? I mean, let's not try to pretend like Cincinnati didn't come in there and killed your dreams last year. So
wait a minute.
Yeah.
We were 0-3 against them last year. The playoffs, one during the regular season, then one during the playoffs again. Right. So we were 0-3 against Cincinnati. It was like they had our number. So yeah, coming to this year, yeah, we were kind of, say, okay, well, what's going to be like? But the one thing I know about Kansas City is that as long as they got 15 back there, you're going to always have a chance to win it.
This is true. This is true. Patrick gives you a great opportunity to win the game. When I look back at what the Eagles did this year, the season does kind of mirror what you guys did in 2017 during the regular season, because I think about Carson Wentz. You guys were winning everything. He was an MVP. People forget that years ago. You wouldn't have gotten to that position if not for Carson Wentz having that just hot fire start to 2017. But this year is very similar. You guys ran through the NFC East. Those wins at the end of the year when Jalen was hurt didn't really mean much. Tell me, was this kind of what you were expecting, Jason? Did you think it would be, quite honestly, this easy? You guys really haven't stumbled a lot this year.
Yeah, looking at the season, the beginning of the season, everybody knew that the main thing was everybody questioned. There was a huge question mark over Jalen Hurts. Is he a franchise quarterback? Can he run the offense? Can he throw the ball? Yeah. So it started, and this man just started taking over, running when he needed to run and passing when he needed to pass and having accurate passes, the addition of Brown on the team. So our optimism, it was cautious optimism every single game, like, wow, we can really do this. Okay, I think we can do this. But still in the back of your mind, is Jalen Hurts going to come back down to earth? And throughout the entire season, Jalen Hurts just played as consistent as possible all the way throughout the season. So for us, it was like the national attention was now on Jalen is not. I saw so many clips, Shannon Sharp, ex-Dallas Cowboys, things like that. This is not a franchise quarterback. I got to see it for myself as they're going through the season undefeated. Oh, still, they haven't been tested. They haven't seen anybody yet. They're going to get to the playoffs. Things are going to change, and it's going to get faster. It's going to get more difficult for them. They've given up 14 points in 2 games and scored. So for us in Philadelphia, we always got everybody hates us. No one likes us. No one likes us. No one likes us. We always got that, in the back of our mind. So as a city, we kind of, joined together against everybody is against us. And as we go through, the Giants, when we took them down, all the Giants fans that they're at my job, they start calling out sick, and all of a sudden,
wow.
That has not been back to work yet.
Oh wow! Oh wow!
I called him. I said, "Everything okay?" I got that gout.
He got that route. That's what he got. I'm gonna follow up on what you were saying about Jalen Hurts again, not missing the historical part of the Super Bowl with the first 2 black quarterbacks to go against each other this year. Your 2 quarterbacks I would imagine, are the front runners for the MVP. Ron, if you could tell us a little bit about Patrick Mahomes and what he means to that team as far as Kansas City is concerned. Arguably the best quarterback in the last 5 years, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I didn't know a thing about him when they first drafted him. He drafted him at 17. You gave up a first-round pick, a third-round pick, and a fifth-round pick. I said, who are they giving up all these picks for? Because I didn't even know the dude, So, I watch college, So, and then I started reading about this dude. You throw for 700 yards in one single game. Okay, you got something going on. You throw for 700 yards in one single game.
That's true.
So, and what happened was that I started reading about how this guy was constructed. I already knew about the innovations that that Reed brings to the table. But when I started reading about this dude, I was like, oh, okay, maybe we got something here. And so the thing about it was from the beginning, when nobody knew who he was, because when I first came down to Atlanta, they didn't even know who Kansas City was.
Oh, yeah.
I would have to name the other team in order to get to see it. Huh?
So we didn't care about y'all.
I know. So in order to watch a Kansas City game, I would have to tell who the other team was, whether it was New York or whoever. Then they would find the game. But now everybody knows who Kansas City is. What I'm saying is that once you get that right person, it's going to make a culture change as far as your city is concerned.
Absolutely.
So for the first 5 years, he's been starting. Everything has run through Kansas City. There has not been a year since he's been starting that they haven't had the conference game in Kansas City.
That's right. I forgot about that. It is the AFC. That's right. You're absolutely right. I think back to, again, just recapping the Super Bowl win in 2000, the season for 2017 into 2018. And then all of a sudden, hard times came for Philadelphia. About the next year you made it. And then after that, it was like a total scrubbing of the team.
Right.
And almost a rebuild. People down here in Atlanta a little jealous about how quickly I keep making the point. In the time from you guys won the Super Bowl the next year, you all have won the Super Bowl, torn down the team, and returned to the Super Bowl in the same 5 years we haven't made the playoffs. I give Howie Roseman a lot of credit for what he's doing up there. But more importantly, Jalen Hurts, man, to have the thought to get him in that second round. Everybody had missed him the first go round. How lucky are you guys to have grabbed a talent like that, and more importantly, had patience enough to stick to him and stick with him, I should say, and get to this point?
Yeah, luck is exactly what it was. He's still sitting there at that number during the second round to be able to grab him up. And to be honest, in Philadelphia, they booed the pick. We booed Donovan McNabb. So we booed the pick because we didn't think, here's a guy that got benched during the national championship. Now we're picking him second round when there were other pieces and holes that needed to be filled. But Howie Roseman and that team saw something. One, they saw something that Wentz not tough enough. We got his after the injury, his talent declined so fast. Like I've never seen a quarterback dive that rapidly to being benched, and we'll see if he's in the league next year. I've never seen anybody's star fall that far and that fast. So they were really, really lucky to be able to grab up Jalen Hurts in that second round and saw his work ethic. Like this guy, he really works at it. And to see him even off the field, I have really good friends that I went to high school with. One of them played in the National Football League for 10 years. He got some twin sisters. They opened a restaurant literally around the corner from my house. I can actually walk there. Jalen Hurts did that commercial for Pepsi in their restaurant.
Oh, wow.
What was it? A Thursday night football game halftime. He did an interview where he made his own cheesesteak. They named the cheesesteak after him. He did a full interview in there. He has been supporting these young ladies, and their restaurant has exploded ever since he's went in there. He continues after they won the NFC Championship. Where did he go to the after party? Around the corner from my house.
Wow.
This guy on the field, off the field, what you see is really what you get. There's nothing really fake about him. He's going to work his behind off. He's humble. He likes to support. So for me, that's just winners. I read about Patrick Mahomes, thing he does. That's a winner. That's why you're successful, because you do these type of things. So to sit there and see two black quarterbacks in Black History Month at the Super Bowl.
Wow. That's deep. That's deep. Yeah, we all appreciate that little reference to the national championship down here, man. People get a little testy when you talking about that particular game down here, bro. You could have left that part out. No, I'm just messing with you. No, Jalen is, his story is really something else to be the guy. And then to your point, national championship game pulled. Next year, you're riding the bench, go to Oklahoma, reprove yourself again, get drafted in the second round. It's a crazy story. Okay, let's get down to the brass tacks, man. Let's talk about the game itself. Jason, I'm going to start with you. Biggest advantage and disadvantage for Philly against Kansas City?
Our biggest advantage against Kansas City is our offense and defensive line. I don't even think that there's our offensive line is probably one of the best in the league, if not the best. And our defensive line, 70+ sacks this year. Enough said.
Yes.
Disadvantage of course, we're playing against Patrick Mahomes.
That dude on one leg, 326 yards. I mean, and not only the yards, when you look at just some of the throws he was making, and every time he planted on that foot, on that ankle, that was just painful for him to do those things again. Yeah, he is an X factor amongst X factors. So I do see where you're coming from. I just following up on that from the offensive line standpoint, your running game, man. Miles Sanders, Byron Scott, Gainwell, and Jalen Hurts himself, just to be able to run the ball and control things is. You had a good running game before, but Jesus, just to take it to that next level, man. How good is that your quarterback can go 15 to 25 and still rout the other team during the game last week?
Amazing, because if you look back at our season, one game we rushed for over 300-something yards in the game, right? And passed for maybe 100-something yards. Then the next game, they passed for over 300-something yards and rushed for 100-something yards. So whatever way you want to slice it, they can win a game. Jalen Hurts, his uniqueness and his what makes him so great is that RPO.
Right.
Like, as a former linebacker, when you put that ball in the gut, I'm coming for that running back. That's my first step for that running back. But because he does that RPO so well, if you saw the game against the 49ers, when Sanders went in untouched, the linebackers were frozen.
Yeah.
They couldn't move. They didn't know. Did he get to him? Is he going to pass it to him? They're trying to look, and they couldn't look. Next thing you know, he's in the end zone.
He didn't get touched.
If you got the right quarterback, RPO will kill you every single time.
Absolutely. The guy across the aisle, though, Patrick Mahomes, you can make I was telling my son, Tyler, as we were talking about this, Ron, Patrick Mahomes, especially after clinching his third berth to a Super Bowl, basically they can go ahead and get the bus started and start figuring out how his hair is going to be on that Hall of Fame bus, because I honestly think he is that guy already. First, tell me about what Patrick means to the team, and then I'm going to ask the same questions to you. What's the biggest advantage and disadvantage for Kansas City next week?
Okay. Well, Patrick Mahomes is that switch. Without that switch, don't nothing come on. So that's how much he means to the team. But the thing is that he's been durable all during this time.
Right.
Now, Patrick Mahomes runs when he have to. He don't run just to run. He runs when he has to. If everybody's turned around and no receivers are open, he's taking off. But he runs when he has to, not because he wants to. Now, the advantage and disadvantage, what the advantage is that Kansas City has is that Patrick can throw the ball any which way he wants to because he has that baseball background And that helps a lot when you have a baseball background, because you have to throw the balls in different areas, different arm ways. If you're at second base, first base, to get the ball over to the first base. Well, he has that same mentality when he's tossing that ball to his receivers. That's the advantage that he has over most quarterbacks, is that he can toss it from different angles. It doesn't matter what angle it is. It doesn't have to be just behind the back and throw it. So now the disadvantage that Kansas City has been their run defense. Now, the problem is that they haven't had to worry about that because Kansas City gets a lead and the other team can't run because they got a lead. They got to catch up.
Right.
So they haven't had to run the ball. So that's the advantage that Philadelphia brings to this game. Now, Kansas City, when they stopped Cincinnati last week, Cincinnati was under 3 yards a carry. They were like 2 point something a carry, because once Kansas City stopped their run, Cincinnati had to pass. They couldn't use their run game anymore. They had 41 yards of running last week because they had to catch Patrick Mahomes. So see, if you can get that team out of their running game, oh yeah, there's no other team that can outpass Patrick Mahomes. So
it's interesting. When you were talking about the run defense, you're going up against a team again, as Jason was saying earlier, whose running game seems to be clicking now. And what we haven't heard from A.J. Brown. We haven't heard from Devontae Smith, guys that normally are in the stat sheet last week. Because the running game was going so well, you forget about those other guys that are on the team. And I just find it fascinating to see which unit is going to help win this game. Everyone knows about the 60, 70 sacks of the Philadelphia Eagles, but I remember last week they were talking about how Cincinnati's front four was going to do their thing against Mahomes. They didn't come through. So it is going to be fascinating to see how that ends up playing out. Jason, the Chiefs player that scares me the most is not named Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, goodness. Nobody.
Wow. Wow. Now, okay. Okay, I'm going to listen to you. I hear you on that. I also remember Joe Burrow's coming in there really smug and Chris Jones introducing himself to him very personally last week. Are you quite sure that your offensive line will be able to take care of that guy?
So here's our thing. We got a tackle on our right side that hasn't given up a sack all year long.
That's true.
All year long.
That's true.
And part of it may be RPO. You know, if I run towards that side and I put the ball in your gut and I let you go, or I throw it, that defensive end, because of the RPO, the defensive ends on the opposite team have to pause for a second to figure out what is going on. You can't just straight rush. You got to pause.
Right.
That right there helps our offensive line do what they need to do to hold folks off. And I could be arrogant because I ain't got to play. I ain't got to get. As long as they not being arrogant, I do all this crazy talk over here.
And that's what listen, you guys. The one thing I haven't heard from Philly, I haven't heard a lot of chatter. And I love, as we were bringing up about Cincinnati chattered. They chirped all playoffs. So when they did go down last week, it was just interesting how you got to be careful, man. Save the talk for after the Lombardi is in your hand, because you just never know. Ron, same question for you. The Eagles players not named Jalen Hurts that scares me the most is.
I have to say is that their front four.
Yeah.
I don't know all the names, but I know they had 70 sacks. So
you say pick either one.
You just don't happen to get 70 sacks. Somebody was doing some work down there. See, now our offensive line, after that Super Bowl, our Veach said, okay, we fixing this. Well, last year we got 5 rookies on the back end. Instead of just reusing those veteran DBs, he just went and drafted. We got 5 rookies on the back end. And these boys have grown up during the year. You don't normally start 5 rookies.
Right.
Well, I mean, Pacheco makes the 5th rookie because he's a starting running back. Right. Well, you got 4 DBs back there starting. That tells you that in Kansas City that they draft well and they train them boys well. When you think about the yards, now how many yards did Burrow put up on the previous team? He was putting up at least 300 yards on them.
Yeah.
But if you watch the game, you saw them rookies stand up against those 3 number 1 draft pick receivers and make it stand.
They did a good job. I must admit, I did not think that. I thought it was gonna be much higher scoring on both ends than it was. Obviously, Mahomes was slowed a little bit by his ankle, but what you guys did to Cincinnati was something else. I'm gonna go to one obscure question before I end with the predictions, just to talk about the team in general. Some of the word that you hear about in Philly as far as really giving credit, Nick Sirianni, there's a part of me, and bear with me because he's in the Super Bowl and our team isn't. When Doug Peterson put together the nucleus of the team, and you got to give credit where credit is due, he did that. I think he was still building upon his dismissal. If memory serves me right, I think it was a lot of drama about that last game of the season when Jalen basically gave the division to the Washington football team at that time, and he kind of signed his own firing papers that day. Is Nick Sirianni really that good, or just was the talent in place for him? Because he looks awful. I don't want to jinx you, but boy, he seems awful like the guy we had down here in Dan Quinn, a rah-rah guy, emotional cat. I don't know what his experience with X's and O's, but he just kind of rubs me that way. Am I mistaken?
I feel like Sirianni has a lot to do with it because he's pretty smart. Let's take Tomlin for example.
Right.
Tomlin knows I'm not calling no plays. I'm not calling the defense, but I'm going to put these guys together. A lot of times in the national media, it seems like everybody thinks that the way that Sirianni's doing it by not calling plays and stuff like that, this is the first time this has ever happened. No, there's plenty of coaches that are not play call. He called plays last year, and he decided, you know what? I'm going to hire a guy that can call these plays, and all I have to do is concentrate on my team. He's an amazing motivator. He keeps guys together. You haven't heard any controversy, any bickering, any fighting, nothing going on inside that Eagles team. Their camaraderie, the way that they get together and everything. I think that's solely a Nick Sirianni thing. And I think that makes a good coach to be able to coach up and keep all that stuff out of the locker room with grown millionaire men.
Yeah.
Those get the flare up, and no Eagles flared up. When they lost their game, of course they were disappointed, but nobody pointed a finger at anybody. And the guys loved to play for him. So I think a lot of that is a Sirianni thing that is, I think he should get credit for it.
Okay. And it's a fair, and I just, from the outside looking in, again, you all have kind of seen the week by week. Every time I see him, he's, don't get me wrong, you can get coaches that might be super animated, but, you kind of wonder at the end of the day, are they really good coaches? But to your point, that is an aspect of the coaching that you don't think about. Yeah, I have my OC over here and my DC over here, but I'm the one that kind of puts that together. I'm the one that kind of meshes all the personalities and the different type of mentalities coming into that locker room. That's a very good point. On the Kansas City side, Andy Reid has pretty much designated Eric Bieniemy to call a lot of the plays down there for Kansas City. Yet Eric Bieniemy cannot, for his life, seem to get a head coaching job. Ron, is Eric Bieniemy with that shot sheet there? Is it a smoke screen? Is it really Andy Reid, or do you think Eric Bieniemy is just getting grossly overlooked for a head coach job?
Well, what I think is there's been a roundabout way who's calling the plays, whether it's Reid or whether Eric or EB. Now, but what I understand, Reid lets EB call the plays, but both of them have headsets on. So I don't see Andy Reid talking as much. I see EB doing most of the talking. But there have been times when I've seen Andy Reid say something. I don't know if he's over challenging EB on a play or not. Yeah, but most of the time he just has a headset on so he can see what's being called. But I see sometimes his lips are moving when he's watching that sheet, seeing what's called, because the first 15 plays are normally scripted.
Right.
So they go by whatever the team has done before, and they script out 15 plays to say, okay, this is what they do. This is what we're going to do in case they do such and such. Right. Now, the way that they have it is that 15, if he sees something, he can overshoot that play. He can say, okay, that play is not going to work. So he can overshoot it and then call the next play. So, but as far as EB is concerned, what I've been told is that until he gets under Andy Reid calling plays and calls it for somebody else and is successful, that's the only way that they're going to believe that Andy Reid is not calling the plays.
Yeah, that's just crazy because I mean, for him to not even get a sniff for all of these years is just kind of interesting to me. But again, he's there in the Super Bowl. Hopefully somebody will give him an opportunity to coach his own team. Okay, y'all, nitty gritty. Not that I don't know who you all think is going to win, but I just want the prediction of how you think it's going to go and give me a ballpark. I know we got a whole week to go, but give me a ballpark on what you think the score is going to be. Ron, I'm going to start with you. Kansas City guy. Tell me, what do you think is going to happen in this game and your gut feeling, what's the final score?
Okay. If Kansas City scores over 31 points, they win. That's automatic. If a team can't stop Kansas City and they score 31 points, now there's only been two occasions where Kansas City scored 31 points and they didn't win. So if Kansas City scored 31 points, the other team is done.
So is your prediction? What do you think the score is going to be? With that being said,
I think the score is still going to be close, but I'll say 31-27.
Okay, all right, close game. All right, Jason, in your court, 70 sacks, awesome running game. Jalen Hurts, arguably major player for MVP. What's your prediction for how this game is going to go, and what's your gut feeling for the score?
So my prediction for the way that this game is going to go is a continuation of the way the playoffs have been. I believe the defense is going to take over. I feel as though the defensive line is going to get after Patrick Mahomes, kind of like the Super Bowl that they had against, Tampa Bay, where he couldn't catch a break. I believe that defensive line is going to get after him. And my prediction, I think that we're going to run the ball. They already have some trouble against running the ball. We got one of the best offensive lines, and we don't give up. we played against San Francisco 49ers and only averaged 3-point-something yards a game per carry. But the running game got so many yards, and we got our touchdown, 4 rushing touchdowns against probably the best defense in the entire league this year. So my prediction, I believe we're going to win by 2 touchdowns, 28-14.
Wow. What do you say to those people who say, hey, Jason, that's a lot of talk, man, but y'all did beat up on a 3rd-string quarterback and a 4th-string quarterback in that game.
The funniest
I'm just saying.
The funniest thing is that before that game,
right.
He's coming through. He ain't lost a game. He's so good until we knocked him out. We did confirm that he tore a ligament, but on the sideline, he was like, I don't want to go back.
Any chance of a knockout of Mahomes in the first quarter?
He's a tough guy. If we knock him out, he's coming back in the 3rd or 2nd. He's gonna come back.
That's true.
He's gonna try to wing it.
That's true.
We couldn't name one person, but I do have one name to throw out there: Hassan Reddick.
Hassan Reddick, absolutely. I mean, he is somebody that is just really. I mean, I don't want to overlook Fletcher Cox. I don't want to overlook Hargrave. I don't want to overlook anybody else on that defensive squad. I'm looking out for Bradbury. He's a free agent. He would look nice in Falcon red and black. He would look real nice out here. But you guys have so many people that can bring pressure. It's crazy. I have my prediction, but obviously I'm going to wait next week because I'm going to have a preview show next week. I would love to catch up with you guys after the Super Bowl to see if what comes fruition, which side is going to win. I have a thought on who I want to win, but like I said, I'm going to save that to the end. Ron, Jason, I appreciate both of y'all joining me today. Thank you so much, and I appreciate you joining our Uncle Steve's Lounge and talking about the Super Bowl, man, and good luck to both of your teams, and hopefully it is a close Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, that's money right there, man. In the NFL, I think you're looking at your future. I don't think this is going to be the first time or the last time that these guys meet up in the big game. But I just appreciate both of you. Thank you so much for taking time on your Sunday to join us. Everybody out there in Uncle Steve's Lounge, we appreciate you joining us today. Thank you for the kind words in the comments. I see everybody out there talking. Thank you so much. And we'll talk to you all later on Uncle Steve's Lounge. Until then, everybody else have a great day. We appreciate you.
All right.
Peace.
Have